I'm an outsider here. I've been a reporter on the PBS NewsHour since it was McNeil Lehrer back in the 1980s. And I've been doing stories about whether companies can actually do well by doing good the entire time, sometimes with skepticism, but certainly with some sympathy. Anyway, let's get to the topic at hand. Okay, P&G, Procter & Gamble, Fabric Care. What good do you think you're doing, Todd?
So I guess if we start from where we're at from a company standpoint, we've declared an ambition to achieve net zero by 2040. So 10 years ahead of when the best science says we need to be there by. We think it's important to show urgency. But I think even more importantly, we've set an ambition for what we're going to deliver in 2030, because 2040 is a long way out for all of us. So by 2030, we'll reduce our carbon footprint by 40% per use on our products. So think raw material and packaging. There was a lot of discussion about Scope 3 in the last discussion. All of our packaging being recyclable, 50% reduction in virgin resin, carbon neutrality for our manufacturing operations. So think Scope 1 and Scope 2. We're already 100% renewable wind-powered electricity for our operations in North America, in fabric and home care.
That's in Tyler, Texas, you were telling me?
That's right. We built a wind farm in Tyler, Texas that generates more renewable electricity than we use per year. So making large steps forward there, but we're a science-based company as well, for sure. And it was great to hear the discussion of life cycle assessment in the last discussion, because as we look at the LCA, or life cycle assessment for a load of laundry, the things we're doing are great, but they cover from raw material to the retailer, basically. And as you look at the carbon footprint of doing a load of laundry, almost 70% of the carbon footprint is when the consumer uses the product. And that's all about what choice do we make on temperature for washing the clothes. If you move from hot to cold, it's a 90% reduction in that energy. Warm to cold is still a 70% reduction. So just washing on warm isn't good enough. So in addition to net zero, I think what we've taken on that's really ambitious is, as Tide, we've said we want to get the entire market, so 30 billion loads of laundry per year, to 75% of those done on cold by 2030. And it's a massive impact from a carbon footprint standpoint.
Okay, so what's working and what's not working? I had a conversation with these guys a couple of weeks ago at Zoom, and they actually changed my behavior because I put all the utensils in the washing machine, in the clothes, not the clothes washing machine. I just want everybody to be clear. I am a little ham-handed with this stuff, but so I don't wash the dishes, even though I love washing them with my hands, because warm. But no, not warm. I now know, and setting the washing machine when my wife is out of town, surreptitiously to cold. So actually, it's made a difference to me. But so, when you're trying to appeal to me, I mean, this was a personal discussion, but when you're trying to appeal to a broader audience than one, what are you doing? What's working? What's not?
Yeah. Education is working, but the how is critical, right? You want to decarbonize. 70% of the impact is in the use phase, so I need to impact what you're doing in the laundry room. 99% of us do laundry, right? There's only 1% that doesn't, right? And so it's a daily thing. It happens 7 times a week on average. How do I make people turn to cold, right? So we decided to put all the muscle of Tide advertising behind that, right? And in a flashback, I would say we started with celebrity, like I'm thinking some of the earlier discussions. I brought an example I can show.
Yeah, please.
We used celebrity, NFL. I mean, we used artists and athletes, right?
Right.
And that worked fairly well. So let's show one commercial as a flashback.
Iced tea, stone cold, calling on everyone to turn to cold washing with Tide. Now with the help of NFL QB, Matty Ice. Here's a cold call.
Matty Ice who?
Matt Ryan, and I convinced NFL teams to turn to cold. I'm joining the cold callers.
That's 1 million pounds of laundry.
The NFL, you guys are filthy.
Tide can handle it even in cold.
Kid is good.
How about it? Twice the ice.
No.
I have one question. Who is the white guy on the right? Is that Vanilla Ice aged or something? Who is that guy? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
But the point to illustrate is, right, so a large advertiser does what they do best. This is the best you think you can do, right? Artists, athletes, people laugh, it's funny, it's engaging. You advertise this for 52 weeks in the year, right? 95% of people are reached by the ad, and it starts moving the needle, is good. But as Todd said, we're a science-based company, not only when it comes to measuring carbon footprint, but also to how we're impacting behavior change. This one only tested middle of the pack of Tide ads, so average. I mean, average is not good enough.
Average meaning average of people watching it, liking it?
Average of people reacting to it, changing their behavior.
Changing.
So it started moving the needle, more people washing in cold, and that's good. But we felt we could do even better. So this year we changed the approach, and somebody earlier said, give the power to the consumer. So I want to show you a second ad that has 0 artists and celebrities and is probably not funny, but let's watch it and I'll give you some perspective.
Okay, good.
Second ad.
Did you know if you turn to cold with Tide, you can save up to $150 a year on your energy bill? How? The lower the temp, the lower your bill.
Tide cleans great and cold and saves money? I am so in.
Save $150 when you turn to cold with Tide.
So very plain, very straightforward, power in the hands of the consumers themselves. But the big difference, this time we're not saving the planet, we're saving your wallet. $150 at a time when, I would say last year, most Americans didn't know where to find their energy bill. Now it's front and center, is going up for everybody. So this is the very best testing Tide ad and is changing behavior, right?
To what extent?
To what extent? So cold was making progress, right? It started getting into the high 40s% of loads in all of US being washed in cold. Then it dipped a little at the beginning of the pandemic.
Why?
Well, people said germs, you need to do hot.
Oh, I see. You want to kill the
So
germs.
it dipped a little, then we put this on, and we're now at 56% of loads being washed in cold. So behavior change is possible. And I think that the difference of appeal to the planet and appeal to the wallet, when the two go together, you're starting to move the needle.
Okay, so that's doing good. Let's submit that that's the case. Is that doing well for P&G, for bottom line, for employees, for anybody?
Yeah, maybe I'll tackle the employees and the consumer piece of it, and I'll give you the bottom line, Martin. But I think from an employee standpoint, people spoke earlier today about just the importance of reaching employees and being able to engage on what are we doing to reduce our footprint. And I think to a person in our organization now, everyone knows what are we trying to do from a sustainability standpoint, how are we trying to get there. And I think it has really grounded it within the organization. And that's important for us because when you look at what we're trying to do from a carbon footprint standpoint, also packaging, water, all of the aspects, we don't have separate small sustainability team. We've integrated it into everything that we're doing. So every initiative we do, all of our work on how we reach consumers is about reduce our footprint, help them use the products more sustainably. So certainly
Any data on how employees have changed or anything?
So we do our employee survey at the end of this year. So we know that we've got much more engagement in all of our sessions, and we're doing lots of training and things like that. So we'll get actual measures in our annual survey coming up for sure. And then certainly from a consumer standpoint, as Martin said, we've seen significant changes in how many loads are being done on cold. And I think it's important, the fact that it's not just driven by switch to cold and you can reduce your carbon footprint. Because we know a lot of consumers, that's not their number one priority. Even all of the data says that more and more consumers are engaged in climate and sustainability and wanting to reduce their footprint, but there's a huge gap on action versus intention. So I think the beautiful thing about what Martin shared there is it's truly driving action with something that is fairly simple that people can do. Getting them to do it is very difficult, but it's a simple change people can make, and it really adds up to a huge impact from a carbon footprint standpoint. And the Earth doesn't care if the consumer motivation is, I did it to reduce my footprint, or I did it to save money. Either way, the CO2 is avoided.
Yeah, no, it makes me feel better doing it. I mean, you know, I don't know if I'm typical or not, but bottom line?
Bottom line, it's working as well. And that's so important. If you want sustainability to work, it can't be a separate group somewhere. It needs to be fully integrated. And what things work for bottom line at P&G is everything that works for the consumer. So when the consumer starts voting more for Tide and other P&G brands, it moves the needle, it works for the bottom line. It reinforces us to then take the money and reinvest in the product, so it's even better in cold, right? And I think the bottom line also needs to work for the entire industry, right, in a way. So this is a thing where we say, we want competitors to copy that and push the same message and innovate against cold.
Yeah, this is social. This is in economics. There's a book out now called Under the Influence, which is social contagion. So if you put up solar panels on your house, the people in your neighborhood you will try to induce them to do the same, and it actually seems it does work. There is data to suggest. But you're telling us, all of us, to change, right?
Yes.
And I have. But what are you doing?
Yes.
I mean, given the paradox of choice paralysis, you know, I did my TV remote. I still don't. I was with my cousins last night. No idea how to work the thing. And I go to the washing machine. I got 40 settings or something like that. Why don't you guys have a default that makes it impossible for me to not be on cold, or makes it very hard? Let's put it that way.
No, I think it's an amazing idea. What are we doing is the right question. I mean, companies really need to come through with that. So it's not only education, even though that's massive, right? You decide to take your advertising dollars, not on something else, but dedicated to this. You also need to then invest in the product. We're also collaborating a lot. I mean, we're working with virtually everybody in the machine industry, working with them so they can complement the innovation, right? So that cold washing gets even better and easier. We're even going as far as working with NASA, right, on the next frontier. How do you consume less water in the wash, right, so that the liters that go through every cycle are less, so it's cold and less water, right?
Yeah.
But of course, we're not stopping there. I mean, 70% use phase is good. We also need to work on materials, and Todd could probably tell you everything about carbon capture, right, that we're working with an upstart company on that. And of course, on the other phases that remain, recycling, et cetera.
So last question. Isn't what you're doing from the global perspective just, I use the phrase advisedly, a drop in the bucket? I mean, China, India, I mean, you know, you did get me to change my behavior, but it's like it matters even less than my vote, right? I mean, I make no difference.
You talked about social contagion, right? At the moment when 56% of Americans start turning to cold, people start talking about it and they want to copy from their neighbor. But you asked about within the global. I have to turn to Todd, but the impact, if we in America change, is massive. It's well over half, I think. Yeah.
Way over 2/3 of what we've committed on cold comes from U.S. consumers making the change to cold, or North America consumers, also Canada. But on the drop in the bucket, I think little things add up is an important concept here. Making that switch on one load of laundry, you can reduce your energy by 90%. The fact that in North America we do over 30 billion loads of laundry per year, suddenly you get to, over the decade, it's 27 million plus tons of CO2. That's 10x the annual operating emissions of Procter & Gamble. So it's much bigger than what we're doing as a company from a net zero standpoint by taking this on. It's the equivalent emissions of powering San Francisco and New York both for an entire year. So it is an important piece of work that we're doing, but I think if everyone's taking on what they can control and what they can influence, it starts to really add up.
Let's hope Xi Jinping is watching. We're out of time. Thank you very much.